Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm Alex Lawson, filling in for Thom. Today, on Martin Luther King Day, we're talking about a lot of things, but it kind of is just, I think, can be summed up by recognizing the totality of our country, the good and the bad, and how the good only advances through struggle, resistance, opposition, and struggle. And Trump and his agenda has already been, we already saw yesterday, we saw 70 events with elected members of Congress all across the country. Trump's not even president yet. And they're saying no, they're rejecting his agenda. 500 grassroots satellite events, hundreds of thousands of people all across the country in every state in the union saying no to Trump, Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, saying no. I'm really excited to be joined now on the phone with another resistance to the Trump agenda that I'm sure everyone has heard of, because it seems that it is history making, in that the women marching on Washington, D.C. have the potential. I mean, we'll see what happens, but from everything I'm reading, it looks like there's going to be more people coming to D.C. to protest President Trump than there are going to be people coming to inaugurate President Donald. And joining me now on the phone is Nuchhi Currier, the president of the Women's National Democratic Club, to talk about why people are coming for this very big visual resistance, an act of resistance. And then after the day, how is that going to play out around the country? So, Nuchhi, thanks so much for joining us here on the Thom Hartmann Program. It's great to talk to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me on. I'm really honored to be on this show.
So, Nuchhi, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on Saturday?
So, actually, I am the president of the Women's National Democratic Club. We are a 94-year-old institution based in Washington, D.C. We have this house that we operate out of at DuPont Circle, and we have become the hub for the march in Washington, D.C. So we are doing 4 days of programming. But before I go there, you mentioned Dr. Martin Luther King. And I just want to quote something he had said, because I think that's so relevant to what we're going to be doing. He said, "We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back." And I think that is basically what this whole show of force is about. I wouldn't even call it the protest. And now I'm speaking on behalf of the Women's National Democratic Club, not necessarily on behalf of the organizers of the march, because each one of us looks at this phenomenon a little bit differently. I am seeing it as a show of force by women, basically a warning to the new cabinet that is going to be sworn in and is being sworn in as we speak by the president-elect, that all the advances that women have made over almost a century now, you better not dismantle them, because there is going to be active resistance. We are for peace, justice, and equality. This is a social movement. We're about social progress. We're about sustaining the momentum after the march, being proactive about women's rights, because there is so much to lose, and it was so hard to win. We are inspired, and we want to inspire. We are channeling our energies for the next day and the long haul. So we are seeing this as a movement which is an everyday act of resistance. This is something that is really, really, really important to us.
So, Nuchhi, I think that something that Dr. King spoke of, and the civil rights movement around him spoke of, and his legacy is really shines a light on the fundamental power of nonviolent, organized resistance. That the way that the people can oppose power, money power, the power of the state, is through nonviolent, organized resistance. And I think that is so important. I sometimes see things on like social media where people are like, oh, well, what is this going to do? You know, like, oh, well, what's the point of these rallies yesterday, hundreds of thousands of people, or the march after the inauguration, the show of force by women? And I really think I understand why. And I think people need to delve into it. It's because all power, literally all power, emanates from the people.
That's
the people hold
correct.
people accountable.
Yeah, and people need to understand, and I'm going to now go back to the inspiration that Dr. King got from Ghandi. Gandhi's nonviolent movement in India, it was a long struggle, but it ended in the end of the rule of the British in India and of self-determination of Indians after 200 years. The civil rights movement in this country also, it took a long time to come to fruition, but we then did achieve what we had sought to achieve. And now this administration seems to be threatening a lot of the tenets that this country is based upon, in terms of equal rights, just in terms of the dignity of man. And so we, like I said, it isn't so much a protest as a promise that we are not going to be silent, that we are going to be a force, and we are going to do everything in our power to make sure that none of our rights are going to be trampled upon easily.
I think that's so important. I love the way you said it, that I don't think of it as a protest. I think of it as a promise. I think that's super powerful. That is fundamentally what is under when we have actions, when we stand up. It is a promise that we will use our power, which is the only power that exists, people power.
Right.
And our elected officials, they work for us.
That's right.
And it's a promise. It's a promise that they will go against our will at their own peril. If they cross women, all their promises, if they break their promises or they go through with some of their promises, some of them were honest about what they wanted to do. But, you know, these are deeply unpopular things. And the promise is if they go against the will of the people, they will be fired. They will be headed home. They will have their power removed from them by the people who actually are the only people, the only place where there is power is in the people.
And this is also not just about women. It is women who are basically coming out on the street, making a certain point. And the point is not just women's rights, which are human rights. It is also about everything that is being attacked. Our diversity is being attacked of this nation, immigration, healthcare, the environment, all these public policy issues which we feel really strongly about, they all seem to be under attack. And so our agenda is vast, and we are not going to be silent. And we are actually planning all kinds of different platforms. One of them is an educational platform. Now I'm talking about my own institution, the Women's National Democratic Club. We are very concerned that civics is not even being taught in schools anymore, which means people don't know their own constitution. They don't know the Bill of Rights. There is so much ignorance about how our government should be operating. And so I think we have a really long way to go in trying to address all the issues that this nation is faced with. And then when it comes to women, women are so underrepresented, not just in government, also in business. 20% of the Senate and 19% of the House of Representatives is women. That's it. We have over 50% of the U.S. population. Women of color constitute only 6.2% of the total 535 members of Congress. There's only one woman of color in the Senate. These are all issues that really concern and bother us, and we really need to do something about it. And we are going to speak with one voice. The group that is organizing this march is a very diverse group. And diversity is the strength of this country. I think it's the strength of this world. And we can't forget that.
Nuchhi, I'm so happy to hear you lay out the powerful agenda that this march is the starting point of, and the fight that will continue back in every state in the nation. I know that I have friends coming into town for the march who are not what, you know, they themselves say, I'm not, quote unquote, political, whatever that means, right?
Right. Everyone is political.
Exactly. But now people are recognizing that that's not a choice that you can make. You can't make the choice to somehow remove the polity, your duty to this nation from your everyday life. And I think people are recognizing that. I have friends who are coming into D.C. who have never done anything like this before, and I think in standing in solidarity with, you know, all the other people who come into town for this, they will see, they will feel, they will understand the true power that the people have. And it's going to be incredibly powerful. But I want to make sure that anyone who's listening who wants more information can get that. Nuchhi, can you direct people somewhere where they can find more information about all of what we've talked about?
So about these next 4 days, starting on the 18th and ending on the 21st, we have 4 days of heavy programming. It's all on our webpage, which is www.womensmarchevents.com. womensmarchevents.com. We have all day, 9 to 5, we have an open house at our clubhouse where people are gathering for advocacy training. They are there to make flags and banners and sashes, preparing for the march itself. We are encouraging out-of-towners to come and be with us and congregate and discuss and talk and plot and plan. And then every evening we have a fabulous group of speakers. We have a congressional reception on the 18th. We have something which relates to the nexus of art and politics the following day. We have it's a super charged agenda. It is a fabulous space to be. We have the Reverend Jesse Jackson who's coming. He's going to be the keynote speaker on one of the days. He is also going to be coming to our breakfast. We're serving breakfast on the day of the march. And our address is 1526 New Hampshire Avenue Northwest. So we are right at DuPont Circle. And then we're now looking into providing transportation. And we're also on the metro right there.
Great. So Nuchhi, in the final 30 seconds here, give us the URL again. And
it's womensmarchevents.com.
womensmarchevents.com. Nuchhi, thank you so much for all that you're doing to make this bold act of resistance and opposition visible and powerfully right there the day after the inauguration. Thank you so much. You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm Alex Lawson. We will be right back.